Hello everyone and welcome to Safer London's webinar on gender and identity. My name is Leah and I'm joined by my colleague Yvonne, and we are peer facilitators at Safer London. So we mainly deliver group work and sessions like the one we're about to deliver today to young people across the whole of London like yourselves. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, indeed. So today we will be exploring the concept of gender and identity. So to break it down a bit further, we are going to be talking about what gender is and highlight some of the associated gender stereotypes and expectations. And we're also going to be exploring identity and the factors that influence how we see ourselves. Firstly, we're going to take a look at gender and gender identity. So what is gender? As we can see here, gender can be defined as the different social practices, expectations, and ideas that are associated with masculinity and femininity.
Here are a few different gender identities. There's many, but we're going to share just a few of them with you. So for a woman or a man or a cis woman / cis man, this would be a gender identity that applies to somebody who identifies as the sex they were born with. A gender fluid person would be for an individual who has a gender identity that isn't fixed, but also varies over time. And for a trans or transgender person, and this would apply to someone whose gender identity or the way they express their gender is different from the gender that they were born with. And last but not least, you have non-binary. So this term would apply to someone who doesn't feel that they are either a boy or a girl.
Now we're going to play a short video created by the European Institute of Gender Equality. And this video is about gender roles, how we learn them, and how they're developed in society.
As children, there is no limit to what we believe we can become. But as girls and boys, we are steered in different directions growing up. This happens because of what we call gender stereotypes. Traditional ideas about what boys and girls can or should do. They may not always be obvious, but stereotypes are everywhere, and they start to follow us from our earliest days in the toy store, and continue to influence us when choosing subjects at school. For instance, girls are expected to be good at arts and humanities, while boys are led towards maths and science. When we come across the same stereotypes again and again, they begin to feel natural and start to shape our preferences and career paths. More men go into better paid jobs in the science, technology, engineering and mathematics field, and women tend to choose teaching and social work professions. Acknowledging gender stereotypes and their consequences is the first step towards breaking the mold, so that we build our lives based on our own choices.
Okay, so that clip is really just to give us an idea of how society's view on gender can impact the way in which we view our gender. It can impact the decisions that we make and the behaviours that we develop as we grow and develop in life.
Let's now take a look at gender stereotypes and what these look like for different genders. So focusing on men, some of the common stereotypes are that boys and young men are expected to be tough and strong, not to show emotion or be emotional, to be interested in maths, science and technology, to be interested in or play sports, to be confident and outspoken, and to be dominant or always be the leader. And it's important to note that some stereotypes are more harmful than others. For example, being forced not to show any emotion is largely unhealthy, whereas being assumed to be a leader or being allowed to show leadership might, in certain circumstances, be a positive thing.
In comparison to that, so some of the stereotypes associated with women are to be focused on looks and to be feminine, to be kind and caring, to be more domestic than men. So, doing more chores around the house, like cooking and cleaning. There may be a stereotype as well that women don't enjoy sports or computer games, that they're better with children or they're more nurturing, more maternal, and they may be more polite and over-apologetic. Another stereotype or expectation could be that women should be or are more submissive. So they're more likely to be a follower than a leader. And if they were to express or exhibit leadership qualities, they might be viewed as bossy. or difficult person to work with or be around.
Yeah, exactly. And just to add, the stereotypes can be really harmful when they force views, behaviors and lifestyles over people, especially if it goes against our wishes, desired life choices, and simply who we are as individuals. You know, for example, some women would like to have children in the future and some do not. Some wish to be in caring professions and others want to go down a completely different path.
Mm-hmm. And some enjoy sports and computer games as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So now let's focus on relationships, because gender stereotypes often impact our attitudes towards relationships. This includes how we act, as well as how we expect to be treated by our partners. So from previous workshops we've carried out with young people, some of them share that some of the ways gender stereotypes and expectations impact young people's attitudes and views of relationships are as follows. So examples they gave concerning men are that men in relationships are expected to be the dominant partner, to be in control, to be the breadwinner, which means to be the financial provider or the money maker of the household or the relationship, to be the decision maker, to be sexually active earlier in life and to have had many partners, and that cheating is more readily accepted by the partner. So if man or boy cheats within their relationship, then that's okay. And conversely, they shared that women and girls are expected to submit to the wishes and demands of a partner, to be emotionally sensitive and vulnerable, to be physically attractive and to focus on their looks all the time, and that cheating is less readily accepted by the partner. So if a woman or a young woman cheats, then it's absolutely not okay. So in summary, these are some of the unhealthy expectations or attitudes that some young people have shared exist within their spheres.
So these expectations or stereotypes will likely at some point have a great impact on how we experience relationships in terms of our behaviour and our emotional well-being. So we're looking at it from two different sides. So for instance, we're going to look at it from those who may feel that they are have been subject to stereotypes and expectations before. And then we're also going to look at how we may make others feel if we also hold certain biases or certain stereotypes towards people. So in terms of how we might feel if we're subject to stereotypes, we might feel isolated, misunderstood, uncomfortable to be ourselves or to be true to who we are. We may feel pressure to feel like we need to subscribe to what maybe our family says or what our friends say, or maybe what our culture says in terms of how we're expected to be or how we may be expected to behave. We might feel like we can't be open, that we may be constantly judged by others as well. But on the flip side of that, we may also hold stereotypes ourselves or expectations of people, and sometimes we're not aware of it as well. And in holding those stereotypes, we may make other people feel uncomfortable. We may make other people feel pressure or feel like they have to live up to unrealistic expectations that we hold for them. And we also may offend people as well. So anybody that's not able to be true to who they are at some stage may experience low self-esteem, or it may impact their value or their worth as well, and impact how they view themselves. So it's important to reflect on our relationships as well, to have a look at and see, do we hold any biases or any stereotypes? And if so, how can we better the way in which we treat people as well? Or are the relationships that we're in having an impact on our self-esteem because certain factors are causing us to feel like we can't be ourselves? So it's important to have a look at our different networks and see if there's any relationships within them that's causing us to feel those kind of ways.
Yeah, so let's now look at how these stereotypes and expectations might impact our self-esteem, how we view ourselves, and ultimately the choices and decisions that we make. So, for example, these expectations and stereotypes, they might make us feel unworthy or like we're not enough. They might make us feel like we're unattractive or like we don't have the right look. They might make us frequently compare ourselves to others, and they might increase our levels of anxiety, but also bring down our mood. They might make us feel like we need to withdraw from others and feel like we can't reach out to supportive people around us. And they might lead us to develop harmful habits to cope with any negative feelings we may be experiencing. They might cause us to have a lack of self-belief and self-worth. And lastly, they might make us feel only valuable or good about ourselves if others accept or approve of us.
Okay, so in terms of looking at gender roles and identity, which we'll touch on as well, it's important to look at social media and its impact, because it has a huge impact on the way in which we view ourselves and view others as well. So there's loads of different platforms that we're all aware of that we use, like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat as well. And there are many positives, but there are also many negatives as well. So we're going to start with the positives of social media. So one could be, a positive is that for some young people who struggle to or maybe they struggle with social skills, struggle to make friends in person or just to speak to people in general, connecting with people online is an easier option for them, and they're able to do that because of how many platforms there are, and being able to have access to people more easily as well. Some people who belong to a marginalised group, such as the LGBTQ plus community, as well as maybe those who struggle with mental health as well. There's loads of different networks and support systems that you can find online that people have access to. So social media is a good platform for that. And you're also able to showcase your creativity and your skills and your talents, which you see a lot of on Instagram and TikTok, and you're able to reach the masses in doing that. You also see it on YouTube as well. And I guess a pro of that is that some people have been able to make money from doing that as well. And another positive we would say is that social media can give you a voice, or it can help you to be more comfortable in sharing your opinion on certain issues or things that are going on in life. So for instance, we have the current COVID situation that's happening with the vaccines, and last year we had the Black Lives Matter movement. So there are a lot of different things in life that come up in issues, and social media can be used as a positive platform to speak on those things or to highlight those things as well. But when we talk about the negatives, we're really touching on how does social media impact our self-esteem and the way in which we view ourselves. And it can have a lot of negative effects on us. So one of them could be the fact that it's a whole like system. So on most of these apps, you'll know whether people are liking your content or a picture, whatever it is, based on likes or dislikes. And that can be quite difficult to deal with if you don't get the outcome that you desire from whatever you've posted as well. And a lot of comparing can go on as well online. So you might see somebody who has a certain figure that you would like to have, and look a certain way, they may live a certain lifestyle that you aspire to have. And if you're not in that particular moment in life, or you don't quite look like that, you can find yourself comparing yourself to that person and feel like you're not as good as them, and therefore you're not good enough. Also, cyberbullying happens a lot. So you have people can create trolling accounts, leave really negative and really sad comments that have led to many things. We've seen quite a lot of suicide and things like that, which has led because of cyberbullying. So it's very serious. And on the flip side, we said a positive is that you can connect with people and make friends. But I guess a negative of that would be that sometimes you're not able to see the full character of someone online. So people may exhibit certain things that, it might look good at first, but you might not really have the opportunity to really get to know that person. So you may end up developing false friendships from social media as well. And social media, it's a bit of a time stealer sometimes, we would say. So I know, like myself, sometimes you can be on Instagram and before you know it, you spend an hour on your phone, and it's kind of pulled you out of reality for that moment in time. And you could have spent that time doing something a little bit more productive. So it can definitely be a time stealer if you don't manage or monitor how much time you spend on it as well. And it takes away your time from interacting with real people as well, people that may be in your house, or wherever it is that you are. Another negative we have is the pressure to look perfect and be perfect. So you may have heard before that social media is like the highlight reel of life. So what that means is that most of the time people are always going to be posting really good things that are happening and everything looks perfect in somebody's life, but obviously that's not reality, and that's not really the case. So just to bear that in mind, social media is not a reflection of life in general or of somebody's life in general. It's just a very small snapshot of probably the good times as well. So everybody's experiencing and going through difficult things. And lastly, there has been studies and research done which shows that a lot of time spent on social media can lead to low self-esteem. It can lead to anxiety, which can also lead to depression as well. So those are some of the things we need to bear in mind.
Okay, so now we're going to be exploring identity and what this means for us as individuals. Here we see the definition of identity as the parts of us that make us who we are. For example, our talents and skills, what we're good at, our sexual orientation or gender, our likes and dislikes, what we're interested in, and our values.
So just following on from that, so there are loads of different external factors that can influence our identity. So really, if we're talking about identity, we're saying, yep, it's all about us and it's who we say we are, but there are loads of things outside of us that can impact who we say we are. And this can be culture. So we all have different upbringings. We all come from different countries, different places that have their own, I guess, kind of say on how a young woman or a young man should behave, and certain things that they should do in life. So that has an impact on our identity. We have religion as well. We come from a religious background. And socioeconomic status. So socioeconomic status is, the area which you live in, how much money your family makes, the jobs that your parents, your guardians do, all those kind of things fit in. And age and gender, which we mentioned before, also impacts your identity and your sexual orientation as well. And then in addition to that, our life experiences. So some of us would have had more positive life experiences, others more negative. And so in terms of the things we go through in life, those things can be kind of steering in terms of how we would describe ourselves to people, who we think we are as well. And last but not least, actually, two more things, our friends and family. So we spend a lot of time with friends. We would say, whether if you're in school, that's like 5 days a week with your friends. And then you might see them on the weekend. So they have a lot of impact on who it is you say you are, because we are influenced by the people that we spend the most time with as well. So I guess that's another thing we need to look at in terms of when we're reviewing our relationships. Are we engaged in relationships that are having a positive impact on our identity? Are they making us feel uplifted, these relationships? Are they making us feel like we're comfortable to be ourselves, we're comfortable to be true to who we are, or is it doing the opposite as well? And social media, so we touched on social media applications, but it's just not just limited to that. So, the movies we watch, the music we listen to, the lyrics, all those things have an impact on our identity as well. So that's just another thing to bear in mind.
Yeah, so just to go a bit further, let's look at some of the ways in which we can practice being our true selves, or being true to ourselves and being true to our identity. So you can try and explore and find your personality type. So that includes exploring your likes, dislikes, passions and interests, and really what's important to you. You can observe your feelings. Try not to ignore your instincts and how you feel at any given moment, especially when interacting with certain types of people in certain contexts. Just be mindful of how you're feeling in different environments. Reflect on your past and your experiences. Your life so far will have been filled with lots of different lessons and realizations about who you are as a person. So taking time to reflect on these experiences can give you a bit more insight into what has made you you. And it's also useful to think about your future. Part of being true to your identity is to have a vision or some kind of idea about how you would like your future to look. And doing this might help you to make choices and decisions that are true to yourself. Try and practice assertiveness. So that's trying to learn how to say no, especially if you feel under pressure to do things you're uncomfortable doing. And learning how to communicate this in a healthy way. And this can definitely be difficult and uncomfortable at times, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Try and identify your boundaries. So think about what it is and what isn't acceptable to you and how you would like to be treated. And lastly, think about your friendships, the people around you. Try to surround yourself with friends who don't pressure you to compromise on being true to yourself and on your values and on your beliefs. And those who may be negatively impacting your overall well-being and happiness.
Yeah. We're just going to watch a short motivational video, and it's really just an example of how to be you and to be you proudly.
Not caring what people think will be the best choice you ever make. Bro, this whole I want to be popular stuff is basic. I know you see the cool kids, they dress fresh, they get the attention, they turning up, they going to parties, and you want to be like them, right? Keep it 100. Sometimes you feel like you're not enough, right? Well, I'm telling you, you are enough. You were born original. Don't you dare die a copy. You were born to stand out. Stop trying to fit in. Popularity does not mean quality, but I get it. I get it. See, in this crazy world we live in, it has no chill. Some people are loved for being fake, and others are judged for being real. But you have to be real. Never stop, because it's better to be hated for who you are than liked for who you're not. So what if you don't fit in? So what if you're not perfect? Do you know how diamond experts can tell if a diamond is real or worthless? See, the fake diamonds are perfect. The real ones have flaws. And just like that, fake people appear perfect. Real people make mistakes and have flaws. And let me tell you this, the coolest people don't care about being cool. The people who care about being cool are the saddest. When they go home, they're not happy with who they are. Because see, popularity is when other people like you. True happiness is when you like you. See, me and you, bro, we got the same story. See, I was that shy kid. There was nothing I wanted more than for people to like me, but it didn't happen. And I would always think like why? Why can't more people like me? And then it dawned on me. See, sometimes the universe has to protect you from what you think you want. See, me not being popular gave me time to work on me. And when I worked on me, everything changed. When I had the courage to be me, people started coming to me. See, I found out that I was enough already. And just like that, you are enough already. See, nobody has lived your life. Nobody can tell your story. So pick your head up. Don't dim your light so that others don't have to squint. Don't hide your shine underneath the shade. Don't trade your dignity for popularity. You may not be popular now, but you will be great one day. Right now, you may not be well known, but one day you will be worth knowing. So keep focusing on you. And don't worry about what these people think, mainly because most people don't think. Most people will judge you based on an opinion from somebody else. Man, treat these people like coupons and cut them out of your life. Leave them on red. It's time to focus on you. You may not see it now, but in 5 years, none of this popularity stuff is gonna matter. See, popularity ends on yearbook day. What you build and who you become will last the rest of your life. So don't let them write your story. You keep caring about what people think, you will forever be their slave. And you're stronger than that. So never forget who you are, because it is who you are that makes you great.
Okay, so yeah, there was lots of great advice packed into that video. So let's try and summarize. What are some of the things we can do if we're struggling or confused about our identity? Here are just a few extra tips and bits of advice. So the first thing is, don't be too hard on yourself, because finding your identity is a lifelong journey. Next is, be mindful of external negative influences that might be impacting your identity and your well-being. Keep a journal and fill it with positive affirmations. or words of positive encouragement, and try and do that as regularly as possible. Be mindful of internal negative voices, so the voices in your mind, and try to focus on the positive things about yourself. Write down evidence that challenges the negative beliefs you might have about yourself. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself time. Try to build healthy and positive relationships. Confide in people you trust. Someone you know will listen and not judge you. Try to embrace the things that make you different, the things that make you unique. And lastly, it's important to be aware that our identity can and most likely will change and develop and evolve over time as we age and experience different things in life.
Okay, so we're almost at the end of this webinar, but before we close, we think it's important that we're able to identify safe and trusted people that we can speak to in life. So I guess, as Yvonne said, one of the steps in being true to yourself is to be able to speak to people or be able to identify people that you know can support you and not judge you. It's about having a network around you, isn't it? It's about having a good support system around you. So a safe and trusted person could be your parents or your guardian. It could be somebody in the school, a school teacher, your pastoral lead, a teaching assistant, anybody that's a trusted adult that you know you can speak to. In terms of the community, it could be a social worker that you know or that you might be working with. It could be a youth worker if you attend a youth club as well. And in terms of organisations that can help you, so we've got two here, but there's many, but we're highlighting Childline and Kooth. So those are really two organisations that are really helpful in terms of being an extra support system to yourselves as well.